First strike, UMG closed qualifiers. I'm Taylor Reflections, Noble, joined of course by Bach and Ben Silly. Another map goes to the way of Immortals. And I say another map because look, it's pretty much the same results, guys, as that LG matchup, man. They just dominated. Actually, domination is just, that's a soft way of putting it, Bach.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a Twitch chat emote that like symbolizes a spanking, but that was what we just saw. TSM just got whooped on by Immortals. They played so well. And honestly, kind of felt like TSM played poorly. I don't want to just say that Immortals played well, because I do feel like TSM underplayed. I would have liked to see a better individual performance, but you gotta give credit to Immortals for how well they just played that map. I mean, both as a team and on an individual level, they just floated between the A and C site back and forth. They never put any pressure on mid. That's why I get disappointed. I feel like TSM should have read that and used that. And they started to, towards the tail end, a little bit of that defensive half, but it doesn't feel like they did it enough. Like, they didn't really put enough emphasis there. So that's a bit disappointing.
Yeah, I think it shows to prove how actually good Immortals is on a map like Haven. And looking at, you know, going into First Strike, maybe that's one of the maps that you want to try to eliminate out of the equation. If you're looking at how they've played versus LG yesterday, you're thinking about JMO that was 26-3. You had Shanks that was at the second playing as Arena. So when you're looking at those stats, or you're listening to those stats versus LG, and you're applying it to TSM, that's pretty much the same two players that were stepping it up there for Immortals versus TSM. So I don't think it's necessarily like one team that wants it more than the other, or it's a scrim or whatnot. It just shows how good Immortals are in this map.
I mean, look, I've got a lot to throw out there. First and foremost, we already know the kills are going to be very lopsided to one team or the other, especially after that. So whenever it does come to the top three on Immortals, that should be JMO, Shanks, and Neptune combined 50 and 22 in overall kills. TSM combined kills for all 66. Definitely not a result that you want there. Everybody on Immortals went positive, or even everyone on TSM went negative. In fact, Gangsta had more assists than kills and deaths. Which, you know, again, if you're putting in that work as a team player, you're putting in, you know, getting that additional chip damage. That's even more valuable sometimes than getting the kill itself, because it's helping your teammates come through and break on the sites and so on and so forth. Bach, you mentioned no pressure on mid. That was something that obviously, you know, LG couldn't do either, right? And because LG, what were they having to do versus Immortals? They were always, you know, they could try B, they can try C. They just weren't getting anywhere with it, because then they would have to default over towards A. Was, you know, what was much the same story here? What is it in general just about Immortals' defensive prowess that is just so impressive?
Well, I mean, their defense, we didn't really see that much of.
Exactly.
We got to see their attack so much. I will say this, to a certain extent, we did get to see their defense because of how frequently they got the spike planted on attack and had to go and shift into defense on the retakes. TSM really struggled on the retakes. It didn't help that they were frequently at a two-player disadvantage, or at least one. I think like only 1 or 2 rounds, we actually saw an opening kill go in favor of TSM. For the most part, it was always Immortals finding that opening kill. So again, it was very reminiscent of that first series in T1 versus FaZe with Baby Bay, finding those openers every single time, kind of carving apart their opponent, making it much more difficult, peeling away a layer of utility that they might have utilized on an attempted take or a retake, whatever the case may be, regardless of what side they were on. I just feel like that was pivotal, was just that individual play coming through. I did love the way that Immortals played super fast early on. You know, they kind of just ran straight at TSM, and then there was just back and forth ping-ponging. I was like, you know, that pirate ship ride. They just going back and forth between A and C over and over and over again.
And that's it too, right? You want for Immortals to enable your duelists, just like FaZe did for Corey and for Baby Bay. So you had JMO and Shanks just running back and forth and even pressing forward first to get the kills. And that really changed the rounds over for Immortals. At the same time, though, when you're looking at it from, you know, how we talk about Wardell being a very loud player for TSM, Shanks himself is a very loud player too, if you ever watch any of his streams. So for him to be able to hype out a team with the type of entries that he gets, on top of that, imagine if that hypes up JMO, and they're just going to be an unstoppable force right now for this team going into First Strike. That said, though, what is going to happen for Shanks coming up in 2 weeks? Is it just going to be shot up coming back as well? That's another big question mark.
But either way, I think Shanks got a lot from, playing with Immortals throughout this tournament. I mean, his stocks just went through the roof, right? I mean, everybody's kind of been making those memes on Twitter as well as Reddit. You mentioned JMO a lot, wisely so. Shanks too. Combined, they had 9 first bloods. I know that was pivotal, obviously, in their overall playability. 11 plants for Immortals, only 1 defuse. Only 1 defuse. That was from Wardell, right? Just the last second, literally. Not even a couple of seconds, but second. So 11 plants for Immortals, 1 defuse for TSM. Just a dominant map in general. I mean, it's very apparent, right? Everybody was able to see that. Now we head into Split. This is where I'm going to default to you, Vansili. Split. TSM obviously chooses only 4 to go through. What are the chances for TSM to turn this around, force game 3?
Very, very high. I think this is going to be TSM's playground. As Bach mentioned before, is it going to be a map where you're going to have Hayes go back as a Viper just to like try things out again to see if it's still viable at this level? With the changes, of course, that happened to Killjoy or whatnot, but with a composition where TSM is not playing any Sentinels, I don't think they're going to use a Viper. And when you have something like Hayes that still plays an anchored site as an Omen, he was still able to play that very well. So I think they're going to stick to what they know and what they practice for. But on a map like Split, I still think that they're quite good on it, and we have a chance to see a third map.
All right, well, boys, check it out. Map is going to be loading. Third map, I don't know, but one thing is for certain, TSM is going to have to play a lot better than they just did on Haven. Hopefully, they're able to bring it here on Split. All right, TSM Immortals going into Split, boys. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Reflections. Yeah, we're getting ready to jump into this second map. You think a third map is likely, but I think I'm gonna look. I double predicted.
I want to see good matches. That's all.
We shifted our predictions, we put our predictions in at the beginning of the day. But after watching the FaZe Clan game and speaking with Raucus, I shifted my prediction because I thought, okay, I think that Immortals is probably going to take this series. I think they're going to come in and crush it. If they win the first map strong, I think they win the series 2-0. I stick with that, even though the graphics said otherwise. If you listen to my words, you have to go back and unmute the VOD. I know we maybe can be annoying because we don't start the game. I promise, look, I'm pushing the start game button. It doesn't always work, so I'll have to talk to Riot about that to make sure that we can get it repaired. But ultimately, I do think that Immortals is going to take this 2-0. I think this is their win here. I think it's going to be just as lopsided as the last game. I think they're going to carry that momentum into it.
Well, as we're loading off the map, I think for me, I want to know what composition we're going to see from Immortals, actually, more than TSM. Due to the fact that on the map in NA, for Split, you don't see a lot of Sova, so I want to know what Gangster's going to pull out. I'm sure we're going to see some jet action from JMO at the same time, too. And there you go. They are going with Gangster with a raise. So they are going Shanks. So they're going triple duelist on their end. They have a Cypher for Neptune, and you have that triple duelist, no Sentinel, but with a Breach for TSM on the attack first. I expect some very explosive rounds for their end for TSM 2, and it starts off with mid control.
Drone. He's pushed up far. The boom bot will come around the corner. A couple of burst shots coming up from the Classic. Nade to follow as well. That's going to push Drone in closer. There's the nice flash coming out from Breach. That allows Drone into that position. Meanwhile, inside the Cyber Cage, you've got Neptune with the Frenzy. Timing is everything, and it works out well. They have JMO peek from Ropes and Neptune peek from Mailroom. And that 1-2 punch produces success. The drive-by dink shot for Shanks is right on the money. But it's not a fatal blow. The team is trying to get back in, but Sabros is doing everything possible. JMO falls short as well, despite the fact that Sabros is low in HP. There's enough time to throw out an aid, and look at the damage that was dealt. It's a chunky boy. Shanks getting tagged up as he goes for the self-heal. He's down to 42 HP. There's a target right around the corner, but one in B main. TSM pick up a big pistol round win, as they can kickstart things here on their attacking side a little bit better than they did in that first map on Haven.
And one of the reasons why you have a raise into your composition on Split, not only it flushes out 50s with the paint shells that you have, but I think it's also an agent that's able to get some information with her boombot. I would have liked to see the composition or the stack they had started off well for Shanks Gangsta and for Neptune on that on the mail, sorry. inside the middle staircase. If you actually had a boom bot that was thrown down, you would have had an expectation that the explosive hit was going to happen where you could readapt right away instead of just falling back and putting your cage after your teammate has fallen. So I think there was a way to turn that over there for Immortals to really try to win that pistol on their side, but TSM took advantage of it and they opened up really fast into B. This round, it is going to be a gun round for TSM, but Shanks has different plans. They're still pushing back. He gets a kill. He upgrades to a Spectre. He devours to get some HP and some armor, sorry. While the rest of TSM, they're going to have to book it back towards the A side. It's an open site for now because the rotation has been pushed forward at mid side, at B side to start, but they have a 5-man roster to retake, and that's even huge when you get a kill on a spike carrier.
TSM down 2 players as they go to secure that spike plant.
Spike planted.
Gangsta had the paint shells nade prepped and ready. This target right around the corner. They desperately need to find the pickup. It all happens so fast. Now JC Stanny is looking for the Bulldog, and he's found it. A little extra firepower here. Has one shadow step as well and a dark cover in just a moment. But Drone is holding the line, watching for the peak to come through. It's a 2-0 start for TSM, but it's not a bad round from Immortals either. They'll go into the next buy round knowing they impacted TSM's economy pretty heavily. Not enough so, though, to prevent Wardell from getting the op. Part of that is the way that Wardell plays the first 3 rounds. So Wardell doesn't really spend any money in the first 2 rounds, so he can get that op in the 3rd round, regardless of what happens.
And with that, 2 kills away from a Blade Storm for Wardell, JMO at 1. And when I was talking about head-to-head JMO and Wardell, I was going to give the edge to Wardell. Holy crap, man, am I wrong on that one. JMO has been playing a tremendous first half, or a first map on Haven. But that was also due to a lot of firing power that he had with the Phantom instead of mostly having op kills on his end. So he continues on into this round with the Phantom 2, and one more frag puts him on that Blade Storm. That could be definitely a thorn on the side of TSM on how they want to execute right now. But they're counting on Wardell to get an entry with the operator. At least the camera has been broken. That is the only piece of information that Immortals has. And with that, you see that Wardell still wants to plan this round, so they have to lurk up towards mid-side instead to take that control. And Drone starts off with Mail, but is on his own.
I love this angle from Shanks. One of my favorite angles when holding Heaven. Sure, you can't necessarily see that close line, so if they come around the corner tight and jump over the boxes, there's a potential that they could get through the stairs, but it's pretty rare that anyone would actually try to do that, and you also have backup from the Cypher in that position,
left.
so kind of a non-factor. Now, there is a lurk in that area right now. That's Drone who's over there lurking as Phoenix, but they're going to be heading towards the A site. There's a lot of firepower here.
Cool.
Gangsta doesn't get cleared. He's up on top, and he's got Neptune backing him up as well. It's now just one player over on the site. Drone is
10
too far away
seconds
from the
left.
play to really offer up any level of support, so Wardell has to back off and try and save this up. Quick shot out onto Neptune. Once upon a time, those two were teammates. Playing with the old Bees Money Crew roster, one of the first lands that I think either one of them ever played in. But here, on opposite sides, and Wardell's got a lot of heat coming into this one. After losing that first map the way that TSM did, he wants to kick things off with a bang here. So he went for that early op buy. He's currently sitting at 3-1, but the round doesn't work out well for them as Immortals makes the first buy round count.
At least enough in the economy to go for another gun round here. And Shanks in another angle where he's playing pushed up. From that smoke, he peeks out and he does get the kill onto Sabrosa, who is throwing away some paint shells, and that dismiss allows him to escape, but with only 2 HP. Still a man advantage at this level. 2 HP could definitely be good enough right now for a player like Shanks. Gangster on that angle, on that balcony. We have taken control of the Heaven side for TSM. Big name, but that's going to go behind him, and that's going to catch him off guard, and that's what I'm talking about. When I saw how well TSM is playing is those pulls around the wall, but speaking about close around the wall, so does Immortals. They're doing the same thing, retaliate by playing tight corners towards Hell. And as they got the first pick, they thought the site was going to be weakened, and as they jump in, they're jumping in like lemmings. 1988 to just crater on the ground. They all die. And it's going to be Immortals, the ground that they land on, and they're looking to actually tie things up on a 2-2.
You ever play Lemmings when you were a kid, by the way? The game?
That's all I play. That's why I said 1988 when they just fall down in crater and die.
Yeah.
I love
Great
that game.
Great game. I remember playing that as a kid in my father's office. It was like I think it was DOS based. So it was pre-operating system.
Yep.
And I just remember having a lot of fun while my dad was playing Lemmings. Good times.
Stressful,
It's a throwback. Half the audience is like, what the hell are these guys talking about?
I know.
The other half
Actually,
is
you know what? I
pretending
think like
they
80%.
know. Like, there's like 4 people watching who are like, oh, I remember that year. The rest of the chat is like, yeah, no, my parents were kids, so not cool. Shanks goes for the peek in mid, gets spotted by the Sheriff, does not take damage, escapes. Immortals is tied at the score after TSM picked up a couple of early rounds. And Neptune has a good angle here. Has to be careful, doing significant damage to Wardell, who's low on knives after trying to come through. He's got 2 HP, but oh, that's a quick toss of the knife out from Wardell. Neptune is still in a sticky situation. Goes the wrong direction, and now he's gifted a rifle over to Sabrosa.
Mistake from Immortals for looking at the wrong angles with those 2 players alive after those first knives that were missed by Wardell. But they do have a showstopper that gets denied. JC Stanley still runs through the Blaze Wall to get 2 kills of his own. So it's a 2 versus 1. The odds are in favor of TSM though, because if things get sour, they still have a Rolling Thunder to work with. JMO moving through with the Ghost and the Operator. There goes the start of the defuse, and that's what I said. There goes the Rolling Thunder, and Hayes is going to be the one that's going to push in. A flash for him to peek, and as they see that it's clear, that's it. Oh no!
No, he just won it.
Oh, they tried.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. How does that happen? Oh, it's a misplay. I mean, he won that easily. Like 5 seconds left, he wins that. JMO just catches him off guard. He got hit by that Rolling Thunder, but then he chilled here. I think they anticipated him to be in a different position, but he times it well. And then the fault line comes out, despite the fact that the spike hadn't even been tapped. There's the early preemptive fault line so that Cutler can go for the peak. But the nature of Breach is that the reset time, the recovery time on his skills, it's so long, it feels like.
The issue is not the 1 versus 1 in the end, though. The issue is at 2 versus 1, because after the Rolling Thunder, from the angle that you saw from Hayes, he already knew that JMO wasn't on the spike. So I think he could have fallen back. Just fall back, play the time in your favor, and then bring it back on a 2 versus 1 with the spike counting down. The paranoia threw towards the backside, guessing that, or even threw towards the backside, thinking that JMO ran towards the spawn after that. So I think it was definitely it was definitely a misplay from both of these players, unfortunately for TSM. But at least there was starting to have some sort of redemption with this mid control, but it got stopped by an Operator. And that was JMO to get that kill. TSM back on side again.
TSM, yet again, player disadvantage. There's the ult to the backside of site. I actually like this move from Neptune, just kind of surrendering control, realizing it wasn't worth it to stick around, because if he peeks to the backside of site, he's got no cover for main. So he could ultimately get spotted from 2 different angles. Wardell with the pickoff, a nice shot onto JC Stani as well.
Spike planted.
So TSM, now Gangsta from up top is able to connect onto at least one. Neptune's trying to move into position, and he's flying through the sky currently, slowly drifting downward, going inside the smoke, looking for a line of sight on anyone. Can't quite find it, and as he slowly glided down into the site, the rest of his team was taken care of. Now, I saw this in chat, and I think it's important. Someone said, stop being cringe. No one is going to copy pasta your pasta. So I think you guys should prove them wrong. I want you all to spam the number 4. That's it. Someone's planted the spike in chat. You have to defuse. Just spam the number 4 to prove them wrong. Thank you. The end.
So back in a good round for TSM, actually on a pulse plant, a lot better than the one before. They're able to bring the economy back, and also losing a player early into the round to be able to win the round with 3 players still alive. You got to take that with a positive note, and hopefully that momentum that starts to kick in for them to try to come back into this game, because we did say that they have to start stepping it up. It was very one-sided to start, and they're starting with a run it back to try to open into A site, but a big paranoia. I don't think that's wasted. It was a great job to stop it, because you don't get more information for TSM. Flash for them to execute in the trade, as JC Stani gets the first kill, but Wardell stays alive to trade it off. Hayes. JMO should have had that kill as a drive-by with the Phantom, but TSM are going to be able to put the plant down.
JMO had such a good position for that, but it doesn't work out well. How quickly they get onto the site and execute. We talked about how fast that first game was. If you look at the scoreline, it doesn't even really indicate how fast the game actually was. We talked about it going into the break. I think I said that the first half was like 22 minutes or something like that. That's pretty quick. And I think the total game time for that first game was 25 minutes. A large part of that was how fast Immortals was playing on the attack. That round was similarly quick coming in from TSM. They used run it back from drone to just charge into the site. Sure, it gets neutralized by a paranoia from JC Stani, but at that point, he doesn't have it anymore, and they can overwhelm the site. And that's exactly what ends up happening. So it was a good move from him to put himself in that position, but didn't really help him in the end anyway. Sabrosa using the boot bot to go in first. Saw the deep cam come out from Neptune. Neptune's now since been spotted, and he's only got a classic anyway. The one-way cyber cage is really not going to do much. He's not going to peek off that one.
Yeah, it seems the pressure is looking to be towards mid, especially as they're creeping through the smoke. They see nothing there. They know now it's on the extremities, and with the early boom bot, they're guessing that it's towards B. So they're guessing right for the defenders as they're stepping up on a high-low. First shot, that's going to ring and hit Wardell in the chest. He's going to be forced to fall back from the shadows to try to get some information. But TSM off that will decide to fall back and rush back towards the A site. Shang's trying to push forward to try to surprise them, but Sabrosa was ready for it this time.
Immortals.
They're running back to B.
Yeah, Immortals is shifting off to this A site, but TSM is running B.
But you heard them run towards spawn side, so he's like, they're going spawn to A, everybody's rotating, but he never heard them run back towards B. So he kept walking.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened. How he didn't hear that one, how that came to be. So, Wardell picking off one, but it's Sabrosa who's in spawn, currently finding shot after shot. It's a 4K for Sabrosa as TSM control the scoreboard here, 5-3 over Immortals.
Sorry, Buck. I was just scratching my head a bit, trying to figure out what happened there on that previous round. I think there could have been a better moment where Immortals after that could have readapted to get a couple of kills, hurt the economy of TSM. But that small mistake from that audible, not hearing them run back through spawn to B, is a huge detriment to how the economy is actually rolling and banking up now for TSM. So they're looking good. TSM back in the lead by 2, and also the economy to try to push where they're starting off as the attacker side, and they're slowing them down. And to slow things down on the end of Immortals, you got to think Neptune on that one. Canceling the showstopper as Sabrosa was trying to get an entry. Also damaging Wardell down to 31, trying to spray through the one-way of that cyber cage. So redemption at least for the defenders. A 1-minute advantage. Very healthy Immortals. Barely didn't take any damage at all for Neptune, if I'm not mistaken. So they could reassess and continue to their regular positioning, actually. That default on 3 on Heaven, 2 towards the A side, open towards the ropes because they have a trap wire. They have all of the angles covered.
Immortals in a good position here. Got great damage dealt to Wardell. They've got a player advantage currently. Shanks is trying to change positions, but it does look like they're going to go down ropes and head back to A, where they're going to be facing off JMO first, and that's hazed with a big kill. That was pivotal. It puts everything on JC Stani, who's on the site currently. There's some support coming. As you can see, Neptune and company leaping over. Gangsta's the first one to get there. That's the peek through. JC Stani does get 2 kills from inside the site. Wardell has to pop off with just 10 seconds left, and uh-oh, that's not what you want to see happen. 31 HP, 5 seconds on the clock, and I love the move from JC Stani, winning the round by just getting out of dodge. Immortals wins, and he'll even get the kill at the end and grab an op. Or, yeah, there you go. Seemed like he was like, do we want it? Do we really, really want it? Are you sure? Like he's messing with JMO, but they do end up picking it up, and they pick up the round win as well. This is still a really strong half from TSM, too. Even if they lose out at this point and it ends up 7-5, that's solid on the attacking side of this map.
Yeah. Thankfully, though, the economy's still there for Wardell to be able to buy another operator, but I would have definitely, with the time running out, probably just stayed into the site. I know you're trying to chase the... I mean, he was running after the spike, maybe to try to get the spike down for some extra credits, but there was definitely not enough time for that. So I would have probably stayed into the site to keep the op, not give it in the hands of JMO into this round here, where now Immortals has a chance to turn it back in their favor. Great round for them. TSM looking to get back, take back the control towards the garage. The camera's going to bait things out first because Shank's the one that's going to play around the corner. But Sabrosa, he checks that 50. He knows about that. He knows how aggressive Shanks has been quite a few rounds before. He's also been punished by that pistol, so he's able to alleviate their pressure and give the advantage for TSM on the press towards the B side. A spray through the smoke opens up with a second kill. And that pushes the defenders over towards the B side, where TSM decides to book it all the way back towards A. And there's only going to be one opposition, but the opposition is the operator of JMO, who's been popping off in the first map. Looking to see if he can pop up here.
This is going to be really difficult. He's likely to get smoked out, too. Yeah, there's dark cover coming in right on top of his position. And if he were to try to push past this, it would be ill-advised. Goes for it anyway, and actually gets the timing right, and even gets away with a nice tailwind. Has to be careful. There's one in spawn. Push forward through screens, but Sabrosa doesn't stand a chance. Now Wardell is coming up from ramp, and JMO wants to take that battle. It's going to be a 1v1 between the oppers. Did he spot the barrel go around the corner or not? Wardell is currently watching the flank. JMO is trying to move in through ramp. First player coming in from spawn will go down, and now it's down to this, the 1v1, and Wardell from point-blank range delivers with another shot out of his operator. 6-4, TSM, 2 rounds up over Immortals. They've guaranteed at least a tie at half, and the buy from IMT is just awful. The money is terrible. It's going to be pistols coming out from them again. It's likely TSM will guarantee lead here.
And Shambles as on the attack, at least when we said that, unfortunately, Drone got a little bit quiet on the attacker side of Haven. Definitely able to put a little bit of pressure to help out with Sabrosa and Wardell too. So you have your duelist on the top tier of the scoreboard, putting the numbers in for the team. Losing Cutler for the few times that they get into the site, that's okay, because they do have the firepower with the 3 players still alive, and when they're putting up numbers, you're starting to see those results. So a 2-round lead for TSM. Little bit of pressure at the beginning of the round towards the A side, where TSM is going to try to recollect back towards B. And I thought that with this composition that we're going to have, it was going to be very explosive for TSM on the mid-side control. I'm talking about the flash points and the rolling thunders, but they're really focusing on the extremities. So to run it back against an eco, okay, you get the first trade. Showstopper, you're wasting out the abilities too. I like it actually, after all. So you trade or run it back for a showstopper, and you're also getting a kill on top of it. And you're forcing more knives out, so another ultimate to come out, but it's going to be JMO that evens up the tally on a 4 versus 4.
JC Stani jumps down off the balcony with a shadow step.
30 seconds left.
Meanwhile, though, TSM has repositioned and is going to be going towards mid. Smoke's coming down towards A, and oh man. Immortals, they were falling for it at first, but you can see they're starting to shift back, especially with that tripwire going down. They have one player in sight. It's Neptune, who's only got a classic, and he's hoping he can maybe get a line of sight onto somebody and stop the spike plant. He knows there's one behind him. Is the burst where it needs to be? Yes. But there's the repeat coming in from Wardell. Gangsta with the stinger. What can Gangsta do? Peeking out. Cloudburst lands right on top of him, makes it a little bit harder to try to make something happen. His teammate coming in from heaven only has a Sheriff. So he's just going to try and throw that smoke down on top of the spike and hope for the best. They're sticking it currently. They've got it to halfway. Oh, man, that was a little sketchy there. But Wardell hit that line perfectly. TSM guarantees the lead at half with a 7-4 scoreline coming into this final round of the first half. And with the buy that comes in from Immortals, it's very likely to see TSM go up 8-4 before switching to the defensive side of Split.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, at least for Shanks, one of the players that is low on the money, low on the credit, that has to go for a small shield, Shanks is playing on the Empress. So getting a kill, going for the Devour will definitely be as if he had a full gun round. Or on top of that, an Empress that he has available for the team. So it's still pretty evened up into this last round. TSM looking to get the slow pace back towards mid-control to allow Drone to be maybe the type of person that's going to lurk around and watch the flank, while the rest are moving in towards this B garage one more time. Neptune struggling a little bit towards the end tail of the half on holding up this B side. So Sabrosa and Wardell are taking advantage of it. Rolling Thunder up towards B Heaven. Will this force a rotate out? You have also from the shadows the ultimate from Omen in the back of the site. So they are quickly executing through. And Drone gets the two openers. Looks back towards the Heaven. Goes for the hat trick. Headshot onto Gangsta. As Wardell leaves it into the hands of JMO. As the last man standing on a 3 versus 1. Walking through the dark cover as Drone adds up the quad to end the half.
Switching sides.
Solid performance from TSM on the attack. Wardell with 14 kills, 12 for Sabrosa, 12 for Drone. We talked about the kill tally total in that first game and how the performance from individual players was almost on par of that with the entire team. 32 kills currently for Immortals. Just some quick napkin math for you. So when you look at what we've got on the other side, you've got 38 for the top 3. It's tough right now for Immortals, but they switch over to the attacking side. We'll see what they can try to do. It's obviously less than ideal, given that this map is so incredibly defensive-sided.
I like how different it is now, Buck, with how, again, with the right-click classics, before you see a lot of ghosts being purchased. This time you have 4 classics and armor for the defenders.
Well, there's Drone with a pick-off. The nade goes down, paint shells into the ramp area. Boombot to lead up as well. There's a lot of bodies currently building up here. The Boombot spots a target. They have managed to get that spike across onto the site, so all of this fighting has pushed TSM back far enough that they've been able to get out onto the site and guarantee a plant out of this. The Boombot coming in from TSM is not exactly going where it was supposed to. Drone will find another one, though, with his classic. Gangsta drops Cutler, but Drone comes through and finds a third on the round. It's all up to Shanks, who's inside. He's playing as the Reyna, so he's got that self-heal. He's got multiple self-heals. Somehow Shanks has made it almost possible. It's down to a one-on-one. Shanks, the stand-in, the substitute, eventually taken care of by Drone, but it got a little bit scary there, as Drone has to find a 4K on the round, capping off with a 1v1. TSM puts number 9 up on the scoreboard, but an impressive attempt from Shanks. Near heroic.
Look at that. A 3K looking for the 4K. Drone had to go for a 4K himself. Drone getting a 4K on a pistol on defenders was literally what happened versus Moon Raccoons on Split yesterday as well. And the man's feeling himself too on something more comfortable for TSM on the defender side of Split. But yes, that indeed was such a beautiful attempt there for Shanks.
Look at they Strike. Not only, you know, what game is this, but what year? I haven't seen Strike played in a minute.
Oh yeah, missed that map. But yeah, so that's gonna put Immortals on an eco. They do get a spike plant, but they're still gonna invest for some sheriffs, so they are upgrading a little bit. And they're going to dash up towards this heaven side. And it's going to be a full waterfall up outside towards the heaven into the site. Hayes is only able to capitalize onto 1 kill, and it's tied up on a 3-3. Drop it inside an open site is going to be Immortals going for a plant. Actually, they can't. The spike is already down. Sorry. The 3-on-3, I thought the trades were all happening towards the B site, but there was one that happened towards Ramen, and that was Subrosa to get the kill and to spike down in the end there. So as they make it to an open site, they still have to go for the spike. That's
not good. No bueno. They've dropped the spike in mid. And Subrosa's got it on LD. You can see there's support as well from Mailroom, or for Mailroom from Ropes. Cutler lines it up with the SMG. Subrosa trying to come around the corner. Like, they got to deal with the blast packs. Nice flash coming out as well. Subrosa, go for the knife. Go for the knife. He's going to play it safe, tosses an 8 out there. Gangsta is waiting around the corner. There's the curveball. Do they go for it now? Nope, it's just a firing squad. Double-digit rounds for TSM. Winning the first 2 here on their defensive side as well, making it that much harder for Immortals to come back from this. It's a big buy round for IMT. A loss here pretty much means map 3.
We're seeing the TSM that we're used to now on this map of split. And the thing is, they have this bonus round, but Wardell says, screw it. You guys have your fun with your rifles and such. I had to save for a couple of rounds to get this operator. So he is bringing it out here on this 3rd round of the second half. He tried to go for something aggressive towards his mid side first, but as there was no early pressure, couldn't take advantage of it, and he decides to take the safe route to just play it off the callouts from his teammates of where they could spot this opposition. And it seems to be towards his B main. Subrosa, his spot has been discovered. He knows it's a 2 versus 1. Big paranoia. And as he sprays to fall back, he's able to get the kill. And that was thanks to a cloudburst that was thrown by JMO. So you gotta count your stars for that for Subrosa. Give a little bit of thank you for Immortals. Spike will now be picked up, as they will with the Empress. Try to split back inside this B site, but it's going to be a hard one. It's going to be a 3-on-3 on that area.
Shanks moving in. Quick shots out onto Hazed, and oh man, they execute quite literally onto the site. Now Wardell is present and waiting.
Spike planted.
So that laser beam of an op will fire right on through, taking Shanks, who is a serious threat, out of this situation. Immortals now has 2 players remaining. Hot hands going down into B main. Drone clearing out positions. A great flash to clear out Hells, but it's a quick 1-2. And now it's down to Gangsta versus Wardell. And that's awkward, but he hits it! No. Gangsta goes full Quake 3, fires the rocket at the wall. Probably one of the most impressive showstopper ults I've ever seen. And he takes out Wardell in the 1v1.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I was laughing too, because when the rocket went towards the air, it's like, it's impossible that it's going to hit him. But look at him. Last second, Gangsta turns into the wall and shoots it at the wall for the spray, the blast radius to get the kill onto Wardell. That was... Oh man, this is a game, man. It's a fun one to watch, but it's still going to be TSM here.
Like, I hate to cut you off, but like that's just mind blowing. Like,
of course,
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I was definitely speechless, which is why I was like trying to find my words. And it was a very nice kill to get for Gangsta, a very beautiful clutch, and a good way to make it a 10-5. And that's going to put here the eco for TSM. So just off that 1 versus 1, we reset the economy for TSM. Cutler trying to go for the flank, but unfortunately Shanks has a different answer, and they're inching back to try to tie it up for Immortals.
I mean, like, one of the first competitive shooters I ever played was Quake. I'm still thinking about that last round. So the instant I see someone rocket at a wall, I think of a game like Quake, or, you know, more recently, there's a game like Diabolical that has a similar arena-style 1v1 shooter. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that someone actually tried that in this game, because typically that's not the way it's used. You just fire it at the ground. You're not aiming directly towards a person. And also, in what scenario does that even happen? That might be one of the few times we ever see a 1v1 where that's even possible.
Lex is happy to see that. DDK as well.
Oh, yeah. DDK's freaking out too, of course. Both big on the arena shooters themselves. Immortals might get a bit of a kickstart off that as well. They needed something to kind of bring them back to life. A bit of resuscitation that acted as a defibrillator. And that shock might be felt through the team, but not when play hits run it back as well to advance the play further forward. JC Stani has used the ult to get into the back corner of A site, so a spike plant will be coming through. It's a good adaptation from Immortals. Neptune getting into this advanced position will be pivotal. That flash is huge. Goes inside the dark cover. You need to see more from Neptune in that scenario. Losing the 1v1 against Wardell inside the smoke. Big fat paranoia coming out, flushing JC Stani back even further. Wardell says, hey, Drone, I see that 4K you had earlier in this second half. I'm going to do the same thing. It's 11 rounds now. TSM up over Immortals.
And I do understand the play that Neptune tried to do at that point in screens, because as they get into the site from the shadows and you get the plant with JC Stani, you're trying to get into screens with no abilities, right? You don't have any cages, you don't have anything else to slow down any type of rotate, so you just want to try to surprise your opponents. But TSM, they expected that. You saw the flashpoint that came through, and then a push to help Wardell to get across to win that fight 1 versus 1 again. And if Wardell died, there was a player just behind him to go for the trade. So despite them giving the site, TSM was very strong on the retake. And they're 2 rounds away to bring this into a third and final map to see who moves on to the grand finals versus FaZe. JMO does have the knives, but they're still hesitating on where they want to work. It seems as though in the end they really want to try to explode towards this A side, but look at the positioning from TSM. You have one just on the left side corner from Drone. If they don't check this corner, you're going to see this man put up multiple kills again for TSM.
They do try to clear it. It's a bit of a soft clear, though, so it's not a full clear. There's the showstopper ult. Oh, no! Oh, no way! We have a second opportunity to see something similar happen again. Again, it's a jet and a raise with the showstopper ult. This time the roles reversed. To be fair, in this instance, it's not as crazy. It's not a 1v1, and there's no horizontal movement. It's much closer quarters, but still, the fact that we were joking about likely never seeing that happen again, and it happens just a few rounds later, I mean, that's absurd. Paranoia coming out from Hayes,
Boom.
and it's a big fat boy. It's like a school bus of Flash driving into B main, and they just can't get away from it. TSM has secured round number 12, and very likely the buy that's coming in from Immortals is not going to be good.
And like I said, that B site for Hayes is an omen. That's his playground. So as much as they wanted to try to leer into the site, easy for him to break that leer and aim back to where he needed to. And knowing how many opponents are coming forward, or they're pressing the charge, a big paranoia. So very well done mechanically for Hayes to hold that site. Meanwhile, though, from the positioning from TSM, they're playing it semi-aggressively, right? They're pushing out from unorthodox positions. They're getting off angles against our opponents, but they're not necessarily really pushing down and cutting rotations, as we kind of see TSM try to do usually when you don't run any sentinels. But it pays off from the gameplay that they have, the playstyle they have, and they're looking to hold one more time to try to these last 3 kills. JC Stani has other words to say, so does JMO. They turn it over to a 1-minute advantage for Immortals instead. They're going to let the spike time go down. As soon as it comes out, Drone's going to get the first kill. He knows one ran back towards the pillar. So he has to come up to where they decide to roll this thunder from, if you could even call it that.
Nice shot coming out from Gangsta again in a clutch position on the site. You know, the weapon he's got is maybe not the best given the scenario. Once that fire rate slows down, he's got one chance. Mom's spaghetti. It's 13-6. TSM takes the second map over Immortals, forcing us to that third map after all, as Immortals was very flat on the defensive side.
Yep, and with that, we do have that one final map. So stay tuned. We will see who's going to move on to the grand finals of the UMG Close Qualifier between TSM and Immortals.